Hey everyone, in this video we're going to talk about the best senior driver golf swing. I'm going to share with you some tips that if you're a senior golfer, you'll be driving it better than ever. So smash that like button, subscribe to my YouTube channel, comment. These things help in more ways than you know. And also new for the summer of 2024, I'm taking a limited amount of students to do some remote coaching with me through the CoachNow app. Go to the description below, click on the link, you'll find more information there. Also, if you're not already a member, please join our Facebook group. It's called Golf Lessons for Left-Handed Golfers. You don't have to be a left-handed golfer to participate. It's just another platform you can interact with me, interact with our community. Okay, so the first thing I'd like to do is I would like to qualify myself as a teacher. I've spent my whole career teaching in Naples, Florida, Southwest Florida. Those of you who don't know, it's a retirement community. So the people I've taught through my career, a large majority are 60 to 80 years old. So I have a lot of experience teaching senior golfers. Now, one other thing that qualifies me is this February 2025, I'm going to turn 50. And so I actually qualify myself to participate in senior PGA events. So I'm getting rapidly closer to that senior age. So what are some things we can do if we want to drive at our best as senior golfers? And when we talk about driving at our best, usually there's a distance component, right? Like, I want to hit it as far as I possibly can. And when we talk about hitting it far with the driver, one thing that is super important is hitting up on the driver versus hitting down on the driver. Now, my average speed, men driver clubhead speed, on my lesson tee here in Southwest Florida is 80 to 85 miles an hour. And so at a slower swing speed, there's definitely a benefit to hitting up versus hitting down, and we see it on the tours. The men's tour, the average clubhead speed there is around 114 miles an hour now, and they hit 1 degree down on it. You go to the women's tour, average clubhead speed around 94, 93, 94 miles an hour, and they hit 3 degrees up on it because they're doing everything they can to maximize their distance with a slower swing speed. So again, as senior golfers, slower swing speed, there's a benefit to hitting up. So I want to go over some things that we can do to help us hit a little more up on the golf ball. And I have my TrackMan set up here, and I want to share some numbers with you so you can see the difference or the benefit of hitting up versus hitting down. So first thing we need to do is go over what are some adjustments I can make to hit up on the golf ball. So once we tee it up, ball position has a lot to do with it. I want the ball to be forward in my stance. So closest to my front foot, the one closest to the target, for me as a left-handed golfer, it's going to be my right foot. I kind of like people to favor the right big toe. You can personalize it. Hey, that's too far forward for me. I'm going to move it back a little. Or you can move it a little more forward if you feel like you like it just a little bit more in front of the right foot. So we all swing the club differently. We'll have to personalize our ball position, but a good starting point is just getting it right up off that big right toe. And if I can deliver the club appropriately, you can see how I'm staying behind, and that'll allow me to hit up on the golf ball and maximize my distance. Now you notice as I do that, my head and my spine stay behind. I'm actively working on hitting the ball up into the air. A lot of times I see people with a great setup, but as they're, especially senior golfers, but as they're swinging, it's hard to create separation between the upper and lower body, especially as we get older. So what they'll do is like the whole thing will slide forward, and so now they go from hitting up on the golf ball to hitting down on the golf ball. So that's the first thing that I want to go over. I want to get you hitting up on the golf ball. How do I do that? Let's work on our setup. I'm just going to tee a ball up here so you can see it. So setup wise, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the ball more towards my right foot. I'm going to tilt those shoulders to the sky. Easy way to do this, kind of look up at some clouds in the sky, or just take your club and kind of put it across your shoulders. Because a lot of times I'll say point your shoulders to the sky or create some tilt, and what people do is they lean. I don't want you to lean, I want you to tilt your spine. Easiest way to do that, the club up to the sky, or if I just kind of look up to the sky, that gives me the appropriate amount of tilt. Now the important thing is as I swing the golf club, I want to maintain that tilt. I don't want to move forward with my hands in the club, and we'll get into that later. So let's see if we can package this together. What I'm going to do is I want to hit up on one and hopefully hit down on one about the same speed, so we can see the difference on TrackMan of what the potential output is there. So the first one I'm going to do, I'm going to hit up on it. I'm not going to use my full speed. This will make it easier for me to control the up and down part of it. But the first one, I'm going to work on hitting up. So I got the ball forward. I've got my shoulders tilted to the sky. I look up at that tree out there. It helps me tilt my shoulders. And I'm just going to work on staying behind it and driving it up into the air. Yeah, it definitely felt like I hit up on that. And good shot, good distance. All right, so the next one, a little more challenging for me, is I'm going to work on, see if I can hit down on this one a little bit more. I'm not going to tell you how I'm going to do it, because I don't want you hitting down on it. I want you hitting up on it. This is just for the purpose of seeing the difference on TrackMan. All right, so not my top speed, but hopefully very close to the last speed I just created. Yeah, I hit that a little high in the club face, so I know that the club was traveling down. So that's the first tip I want to give you. If you know you're somebody who hits down, you're a senior golfer first of all, and you know you tend to hit down on the driver, work on hitting it up into the air, and we'll definitely see some more distance there and help you drive it your best. All right, so the next tip I want to give you to create our best senior driver golf swing, build that, create that best driver senior driver golf swing, is a flaw that I see quite often, and it will help us to definitely create a little more speed, create a little bit more distance. And again, a lot of what you're hearing me talk about is like, okay, drive it the best. There's a lot of distance involved here. What I see on my lesson tee, that's what most people want. That's what they consider a better drive, is it's going further. Most of the senior golfers I teach are pretty good about keeping it in play in the fairway. They just want to see it go a little further. So let's talk about this flaw. I see it very often is people get set up and they hear from their friends, hey, you're picking your head up, you're lifting up through the shot, and that's why you're hitting the ball poorly or not as well as you can. And so what they do is I'm going to keep my head down, and they get their chin tucked into their chest here, and they make a golf swing, and as they take the club back, guess what? Their chin gets in the way, and what I start to see happen then is I start to see some sway get involved. Listen, it all unravels from there. So here's the deal. I want you looking down, but your head's actually going to be up. What do I mean about your head being up? If my head was down, my chin would be in my chest like this. So I'm going to have my head up. I'm going to get my chin off my chest, and that's going to leave a lot of room for that lead shoulder to get under my chin, and I can create a really, really good coil. And we know that that's potential energy. We know that that's power. I've shot other videos about that you can find. So again, I'm going to start with, I'm looking down at the golf ball. I don't want you looking at the sky or somewhere else. I'm looking down at the golf ball, but my head is up. My chin is not in my chest. My chin is up. So as I take that club back, I can get that shoulder underneath my chin and create a better drive, better distance, better drive it the best I can as a senior golfer. All right, so let's see if we can do this. I'm going to set up. I'll make a practice swing or two where I just kind of get that chin up and get that shoulder under. I'll do it one more time. Feel nice stretch there. And then we're going to hit one, see what we get. TrackMan's still hooked up. Yeah, that was really solid. Looks like it's going further to me, but I've got the TrackMan data. I'll pop it up there so you can see. So watch as you're setting up for the driver. Make sure that chin isn't low in your chest. As I said, it causes a lot of other issues. Get that chin up so you can get that shoulder underneath. Okay, so the last tip I want to talk about for your best senior driver golf swing, it's going to talk about something I see day in and day out on my lesson tee, and it has everything to do with squaring the club face, releasing the club, creating some hand speed, What I see at my golf school, I get students all the time, knee replacement, double knee replacement, hip replacement, double hip replacement, ankle issues. And so it's really hard for them to be dynamic with their lower body. But a way that we can gain some club head speed as we become a senior golfer is by generating better arm swing. And so you can see as I swing the club, I'm letting the club release, which means I'm letting the toe of the club pass the heel of the club. I'm getting the club face to the ground. Now there's too many times on my TrackMan, and I'll play one for you, I can show a close-up of the club head coming through impact, and what I see is I see the club head stay open, the toe never passes the heel, and so the senior golfer who's in front of me creates a really wipey, fadey, real spinny, the ball doesn't go anywhere sort of contact with their driver. And so what I need to do is I need to teach them to start to use, listen, as we get older, we start to lose power or strength, right? We don't run as fast as we used to. We don't jump as high as we used to. And so we start to lose some of that athleticism and that strength. And so it becomes hard to go ahead and release that club. But if we know that we need to and we have a good way to do it, it's something, generating good arm swing is really not that hard. I just think what happens over time is as a senior golfer, we get a little unhappy with what we're seeing and all of a sudden we start squeezing the end of that grip. So this all starts with getting the tension out. My favorite way to get the tension out, I call it greasy elbows. So you hold this club up in front of you and you create greasy elbows. And as I do that, I get tension out of my wrist, my elbow, and my shoulder joint. And it makes it really easy for me to go ahead and release this club. When I'm grabbing onto it like I'm choking a snake, it's really hard for me to create that release and the club head just stays open. And again, it's like I tell my students all the time, because the club face is so open coming through impact and they're cutting across it, it's like a full swing flop shot with the driver, and that's why it doesn't go anywhere. Imagine around the green hitting a flop shot. You open the face and you cut across it. Well, that's what people unknowingly are doing with their driver because there's too much tension and because they're not releasing the club head. Now the other thing that happens is I start to generate a little bit of hand speed, and I get the club, when I'm doing it this way, keeping the club face open and cutting across it, notice that my hands and the club head are traveling at about the same rate of speed. That means that the club head isn't going the fastest that it could be. So at some point, my hands have to kind of slow down and the club head passes my hands, and that gets the speed out into the club head. So when I'm going this way, I never really get all that speed out into the club head, but when I start releasing in early downswing, I get that speed out into the club head. So what's a good way that you can feel or do this? I always love splitting the grip. Ex-hockey players, why are they good golfers? So on the way down, I can really feel that left hand taking over. I can feel the club closing. The key is before I get to impact. If you think you're doing it at impact, it's really happening out here. So I've got to start this somewhere kind of early downswing to get all that speed out into the club head. So let's do this. Put those couple things together that I just talked about. So your tension levels are going to affect how much you can release the club. So first thing I'm going to do is kind of give me some greasy elbows. A little bit of greasy elbow. You remember the old time golfers, Chi-Chi, Sam Snead, they'd walk into a shot, they'd be pumping their elbows, getting that tension out of there. And then I'm gonna work really hard on releasing, getting that speed out into the club head. See if we can do it. Well, I need to do that more often. That was hammered for me. Great, and again, I'll put the TrackMan numbers up there, but something to start looking at, do you get all that speed out into the club head? Why am I not getting all the speed out into the club head? Too much tension. Get those greasy elbows, work on letting that club release, split that grip, get that nice feel in the downswing. So now you know how to create your best senior driver golf swing. Get that ball forward, create a little bit of tilt, stay behind it, drive it up into the air. Second one, get that head up so that shoulder can get underneath. And last but not least, get rid of the tension so you can go ahead and release that club. So remember, please like, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and comment.